All right, brothers and sisters, thank you for coming out tonight. We're X Dick Punch X. There's an X on both sides of our name. Just want to remind you, each and every one of you, that you are all welcome here. Be you an immigrant, be you black, white, gay, straight, Latino, Asian. We're all in this together. If I see someone wearing a fucking popped collar, I will kick the living shit out of you, motherfucker. I'll fucking kill you. But we're all in this together. Unity. It's unite. They will not divide us. But white. If you're white, wait, I'm white. Fuck. United we stand. Solidarity. All right, this song's called "My Ass Fell Out." Thank you. It already looked like it was abandoned. So it just looks the same. All right, welcome to Pod Damn America, everyone. I'm furious because we just fucked up our first take.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Hey. Thank you so much for listening again.
I don't know how that happened, but I have a feeling it had to do with someone's giant hands and my laptop. I'm over it. Let's
Leave
fucking
him
start
alone.
over.
Welcome everybody back.
So nice. He brought you a microphone.
Shut up.
Stop snitching on me.
Welcome back everybody to Pod Damn America. My name is Carlos Salgado and I'm here with
Jake Flores, and we have with us Jeremy Hammond.
Jeremy
Hey,
Hammond.
What's up? Not the political prisoner. The other one.
Yeah, he's free.
Yeah.
I always have to make that distinction when I'm on political podcasts.
I always have to be like, hey, it's Carlos Salgado, the comedian, not the baseball player for the Mets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine.
What about you?
There's somebody with my name that got hit by a car and was trying to raise money. There was a website called Help Jake Flores Walks.
Why has this not come up before?
Ours are like these fucking positive, famous people.
And then yours is just like a guy's
Guy
like,
got hit by a bus.
I don't have health insurance, thanks Obama, and he's also racist.
I think he might have died because his website isn't around anymore. So either he got like
it redirects to a GoDaddy buy domain link.
Yeah, I used to do a bit about it, but it was like too much of a bummer.
Yeah.
One time there was somebody in a wheelchair in the audience, and he was laughing about it. Like it was cool.
Well,
but
he's
I still
alive,
was
so he
like,
doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I used to do a bit about political prisoner Jeremy Hammond.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. It didn't. It never worked out.
All right.
Because nobody knows who he is unless you're some sort of a leftist radical.
Well, that's your audience, my friend.
That is my audience now, so I might bring it back.
Thank
but at
you.
this time, I was just like a shitty, open micer just in front of nobody.
Thank
The
you,
news
and
is
you're
really
welcome.
making a lot of your stuff relevant.
Yeah.
That's good for you as
It's
an
pretty good.
entrepreneur.
This is a good career time for me.
And you know what? The news is making our podcast relevant because we have a lot of shit to talk about today.
Yeah, specifically Antifa. What is it?
What is Antifa?
What is it? What is Antifa?
I thought it was like something you put on lasagna, but now, Jake, after doing some light Wikipediaing, I've been enlightened. Jake, why don't you tell us what Antifa is?
Okay, so first off, the reason I wanted to do a podcast about Antifa is because something is happening. Jeremy's dying at your pasta joke.
Welcome to Pod Damn. Welcome to Pod Damn America. Antifa.
I already like this take better. I mean, I am 3 beers drunk.
Let's do it, Jake. All right, talk to us about Antifa.
Okay, so
Wait, don't you want to preface this with something?
Yeah, no, I'm going to start. Let me start here, all right?
All right, baby.
The reason I want to do a podcast about Antifa is because I've noticed something in following the news, and what's happening is that my dad probably knows the word Antifa right now. Why is that? 2017 is really weird. Suddenly they're a major political player.
Yeah,
right.
Honestly, I think that's probably the weirdest part of this year so far.
Yeah, and what's really troubling about that is that they're being framed in a certain way because no one used to know who they were. there's an opportunity for the alt-right, for the shitty media,
Right.
for everyone to
It-
try to play this a certain way.
It's
right?
like democratic socialism. A lot of people didn't even know what that was until this election cycle, and then it's the same thing.
For sure. And now
you
it's
just think of it as that annoying thing that guys in Patagonia windbreakers talk to you about.
Yeah, but Patagonia is a great brand, and if you want to sponsor this podcast, we're more than open to your sponsorship. Go Patagonia, go Argentina. But
when you were doing that commercial just now, a fly landed on the side of your head.
well, because I'm garbage. I'm a garbage person, and that's why a fly landed on his home.
Laughed at the riff.
But I
Yeah.
take ownership.
Okay, so the reason there's specific reasons that I'll get into a little bit into this, but one of the reasons that I wanted to do a little spiel about Antifa is that people don't know what it is,
Correct.
and the best way we can sort of fight shit going forward is to know what we're talking about. And I feel like we've got a little bit of a foothold in this world. I know a lot of Antifa people. I know a lot of like activists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I might be able to help explain so people don't get like the wrong idea and buy into this fucking alt-left idea that's
Jesus
being peddled
Christ.
by...
Yeah, you called it too. You
I
called
called
it,
it
dude.
a fucking week in advance. I wish I had not called it. I fucking said a week ago they're going to use this term alt-left against us, and you goddamn centrist liberals created it, and they're just going to take it from you. Fucking day later, man. Trump, alt-left. We're fucked. So the thing about Antifa is... okay. I'm going to get into this when I start talking about Germany, but there's a tactic that Nazis have historically used where they sort of like try to incite protest against them to then make it look like somebody else provoked a fucking attack, right?
Oh, shit.
This happened in like the Haymarket riot where they framed like an anarchist throwing a bomb at somebody. It's always framing. It started in Germany with this thing called the Dreyfus Affair. And they're one of the things the alt-right is doing right now is purposely just holding rallies to try to get Antifa to fuck up, which is...
They want them to draw first blood.
Yeah.
Because then everything after that is justified.
They need like a Pearl Harbor sort
It's
of
the
thing.
Rambo situation. It's the Luftwaffe, if you will.
And so there's the argument that's sort of being like drawn against them is, well, you know, they're like, yeah, they're fighting fascists, but they're violent, you know, and they sometimes get out of control. The thing that people don't understand is that it's not they're fighting fascists, but oops, they're violent. The violence is kind of the point, but it's not violence. They don't really like kill people or hurt people.
They don't. Correct. I would say collateral damage.
It's
no.
mostly destruction of property.
Right.
They should.
I mean,
Well, we'll get into that.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that too. People like to frame Starbucks, you know, destroying a Starbucks window as like
Dog, I was there.
as like, oh, this is like happened because the thing got out of control and this is a big tragedy. No, there is a point in destroying a Starbucks window. It's kind of a Marxist move, honestly. It's just more extreme.
It's a fucking metaphor, and also they're gonna.
Well, it's not just symbolism. So, like, when you think about Marxism and you think about, like, what does a strike do? A strike fucking stops production so that all of a sudden everyone has to pay attention. And has to give a demand. So when you destroy a fucking piece of property, suddenly everyone in that community has to pay attention to what's going on because it gums up the works of business as usual in that property, right? So you look at this. This happened during, like, some Pride events, you know, recently during Pride was happening.
Yeah.
People fucking, like, destroyed, like, a Wells Fargo sign.
Yeah.
Like 4 other companies. I can't name them off the top of my head. And then everyone in that town went, well, what the fuck was that all about? And they all had to research and go, oh, these 5 companies have really bad LGBT laws.
Yes.
So that's how it
Absolutely.
works, right?
And also, who gives a fuck about destroying a Starbucks? It's like a hydra. You cut off a Starbucks, 2 more grow in its place.
Yeah,
Who gives a fuck?
It's like an algae.
It's like an algae, yeah.
It's like shoplifting, right? It's like shoplifting for big corporations, like your Targets and your Walmarts and things, where their national business model literally writes in an amount of money just to be a slush fund for things like this happening.
That's why I haven't paid for chapstick since 2000, dog. I don't believe in it. You can suck my dick if you want me to pay for chapstick,
just
dog.
chapstick.
I'm a very parochial thief.
And
Just
with
admit
very
that-
dry lips.
Never dry lips, cocksucker. These lips are smooth as eggs.
You're addicted to chapstick. You're one of those people.
I eat
Just
it.
admit it.
Those eggs?
Yes, smooth as eggs.
This is
Like
those-
the exterior of an egg?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I was thinking the interior. I was like, that's like slimy.
Jeremy, what do you think? I'm an
I don't want that for my
asshole? What do you?
lips.
You should see his asshole. He uses chapstick. You ever heard that term? You got a chapped ass?
Not Carlos
Delgado.
Delgado, smoothest ass in Bushwick.
Smooth as an egg.
Okay.
But so yeah, destruction of property.
Okay, so I'm going to get into all this in a little bit. I'm going to circle back to it. But I want to talk about one thing first. Someone stole my goddamn motherfucking bike last night.
Bike.
Someone stole my bike, okay? And I use my bike to work, so I'm fucked.
Yeah, we're the working class. We need our bikes.
It's a beautiful bike, too. Can I just say?
Thanks.
You did a great job on it. The tiger stripe looks really nice.
It looked like a Tim Burton
It was
fucking
great.
bike.
Yeah.
It looked like the monster from All Real Monsters. That's
Yeah.
what I wanted.
Yes.
Or like a uni racer. It was cool as shit, you know? Anyway, if you see a fucking tiger bike around Bushwick, somebody stole it. It's my bike, right? So that sucks. Don't worry if you're listening. I got it covered. But donate to our fucking Patreon, because that way we can make more of this shit. Because, I mean, really, we work our asses off to be able to do this stuff. I appreciate all the support. You guys are out of your minds. You're in my DMs all day. I love you. You're fucking insane.
I love you, too.
Rate, review, subscribe, all that shit.
I'm
But
indifferent.
seriously, we're going to put out bonus episodes immediately. If you like what we're doing, fucking hop on board.
Show support. Show rate and review.
Couple bucks,
Throw
whatever.
a couple shekels our way. We always appreciate it, and we want to keep doing this for you guys.
Shekels with the Marin over there.
You're goddamn right,
What's
baby.
up?
Hey, lock the gate, bitch.
Anyway,
Pow!
that was just my.
That was a Starbucks window.
Boomer lives in Starbucks. He lives in Starbucks.
Pow!
Pow!
I just destroyed capitalism. I just shit capitalism.
I already like this take better.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Antifa. That was just my little personal spiel. I'm gonna get back to my bike in a minute, but I need to talk about something. So in research, in deciding I want to do a podcast about this, I had to go, hey, you know what? I don't know everything about Antifa either.
Right.
Everyone needs to know more about what's going on, right?
I thought it was a seasoning. Yeah.
I kind of like there's just gaps. Like I was around these people. I kind of know what it's all about. I know that it has like anarchist ideology and stuff.
Correct.
But what a lot of people don't know, big misconception number one, is that it's not really a recent thing. It's just a recent iteration of a thing that's been around since fascism came about itself.
Like
right?
bell bottoms.
Yeah.
You know?
Much like bell bottoms. Yeah.
Yeah, they come around.
Open your
They
eyes.
were wearing those in the Victorian era.
Oh, perhaps my ankle can be shown through my bell bottoms.
Oh hell yeah, they were sexy as fuck.
But it's been around since, even Nazism,
Yeah.
like the original.
I
Not,
mean, it literally came up right as fascism was coming up as
Right.
a thing. But there's some marked differences between like old school German Antifa. Antifa actually as a word, it's not like a new like tween slur, you know?
right, like
It's not
fleek.
Yeah.
It's literally the German name was Antifa, which is short for Antifa, like
Undersea Boten.
one of those
Yeah.
fucking things that had like 12 letters attached to it, you know, German shit. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But anyway, in researching this, I came upon something that's kind of awesome. And basically, what I discovered is that all of the anti-fascist groups all around the world, like they've existed in all these different countries and stuff, different times. They have the most metal fucking names of all time.
Yes.
So in Germany, we had the White Rose. The White Rose was a group of like people that would put out pamphlets. They were like a zine. They anonymously distributed like anti-Nazi literature. Right? They were friends with the Red Orchestra. Pretty fucking cool.
Oh, it's rad.
Then in France later on, there were the Black Dragons. Those are Black Frenchmen.
Whoa.
This is in like the 80s, I want to say.
Yeah.
We didn't react to those first two because we heard them on the first take, but Black Dragon is fucking sick.
Black Dragon's cool as
That's
shit,
gnarly,
right?
but
Oh,
and in
that's so
French it's
cool.
like le dragon noir. You know? Yeah, I took French in high school, bitch. Le dragon noir.
I would believe that even if I believe it.
Hell,
no
we.
way.
Shout out to KRL.
Hell, we. France also had a group called the Ducky Boys. Not cool, but I'm still with them
hello.
ideologically.
Je suis le Ducky boy.
The Ducky Boys.
Quack quack against
were they
fascism. They were French?
The Ducky Boys are French?
The Ducky Boys were French.
Well,
yeah.
that makes sense.
And then later on, there was another group in the Bronx that I didn't even look them up. I don't know if they're ideologically related. They were also called the Ducky Boys, and I think they took their name from them. But they were like cool, like the Warriors style, like Puerto Rican gang guys.
Yeah.
They probably had like cool fucking custom denim jackets.
Oh, that's like the Black Jackets in Newark, New Jersey. They just wore black jackets, but they were a gang. But they also did community service. So
Oh.
shout out to the Black Jackets if you're still active in Newark, New Jersey, my
Nice.
hometown.
Cool.
Yeah. But then what else? Do we have names from other countries?
Okay,
though?
so then I found these because I follow this guy Vincent Bevins on Twitter, who's like an international journalist. He tweeted this list out, which I thought was awesome. Follow him at Vincent with 2 N's, Vincent.
Vincent Bevins.
He puts out good shit, but he tweeted this. I think his take was that they sounded like rap groups or something, but these are all like in Singapore. Throughout history, the Hot-Blooded Corps, the Traitors Elimination Corps, the Dare to Die Corps.
Dare to die!
Yeah. Dare to die, motherfucker.
Do you dare?
The Anti-Enemy Backing Up Society. And, this is my favorite, the Fragrance of Chrysanthemum Sisters.
Whoa!
Yeah. They were
that one rules.
They were prostitutes who sold flowers to raise money for the anti-Japanese cause.
Shut the fuck up. Women who sold their flowers sold flowers. Hey there.
Yeah.
Did they call themselves the Fox? That's a sick fucking name.
I don't know. I'd have to ask them.
Do you know what? Do you know how bad is it in Singapore that all these Antifa movements were happening? I'm a little bit ignorant when it comes to that.
I don't know, man.
But it's just fucked up shit.
I had
Pops off
fucking
there.
crammed for this podcast, but there's so much more to like read.
Oh,
but I would follow that guy Vincent Bevins because he clearly is
absolutely. Let's follow Vincent at Vincent Bevins with 2 N's. But yeah,
actually just at Vincent.
Oh, and Vincent 2
I'll
N's.
retweet him. Whatever. Anyway, so this all brings me back to who I think stole my bike.
Who stole your
Okay,
bike?
so of all of these groups, I was kind of researching this, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make this funny because this is such dire, dark stuff. Yeah. Well, history fucking proved me wrong. The past is so fucking hilarious. Everything is so weird. I came upon this group called the Swing Youth, all right? The Swing Youth were children, like teenagers and shit, in Germany during the Nazi regime. Now, during like the Nazi regime, before it like really ramped up, before it became completely totalitarian, it wasn't like you have to join the Hitler Youth. It was just very strongly suggested that children join the Hitler Youth. So there was this group of kids that resisted and didn't like Nazis. They didn't really. It wasn't, you know, they weren't political scientists. They were just knew enough to.
They were just like, we don't
Nazis
like this,
suck, and they happened to be really into American culture and shit, specifically swing music, right? They fought Nazis with swing music.
Oh, yeah, there was that.
Fuck Nazis.
That's probably what that Mischief Brew song is referencing. There's a Mischief Brew song called "Swing Against the Nazis."
Really, probably. I played them at the end of the first episode we did because they
Sick
covered.
band.
They covered that Pie in the Sky song.
Yeah.
It's called "The Preacher and the Slave."
Yeah.
Anyway, Mr. Brew is awesome. But let me tell you about the motherfucking swing kids, all right?
What the swing kids do,
Swing
Jake?
kids were really into Western culture. They were not into Nazi shit. And they would wear like pork pie hats and carry umbrellas because they liked the way like British people looked and shit.
Oh,
so they were like steampunk, but like at the time of steam, like it wasn't even like a
they were just punks.
They just like to dress like British people and shit.
They were just punks.
And they were. Here's how you know they loved like American shit. Also, I don't like. I'm a lefty socialist. Like I'm not. Like, I think it's kind of lame that they were so into like capitalism and stuff. But this is just a weird story. All right.
Yeah.
They weren't like the resistance or whatever. This is just this weird thing that happened in Germany. So the German government would try to sort of really force you into joining. For boys, the Hitler Youth, and for girls, they had a group called the League of German Maidens, right?
Boo.
Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts for Nazis.
Names.
So
Just the sisters of the sense of chrysanthemum sisters, you know?
Yeah, you couldn't make it. You couldn't make it the Valkyries of Nazi. Like you couldn't make it fucking dope. Fucking Buddha.
What about the White Roses?
Buddha Goebbels. He failed on that end.
So the Swing Youth, people asked them to join the Hitler Youth and the League of German Maidens. In response, they called them the Homo Youth and the League of Soldiers' Mattresses. They called them a bunch of fags and whores, which is why they were clearly were getting their information from America. Like they were
they were
really
on Xbox Live. They were
insults.
fucking calling people fags and whores.
But
did I play Call of Duty against the fucking these kids? They'd be like, "You're a fag and a whore."
With a German accent, but he talked kind of like a fucking swing guy. Yeah, it was probably him.
Yes, how are you, darling? Would you like to dance with us? I can't. I'm
it's
trying.
Like an impossible impression.
It's so hard.
They
James Adomian can do it.
They were also really into. Some of them got as far as to get into like zoot suit shit, like Pachuco stuff, which is like a movement in El Paso that's really related to to Zoot Suit stuff. It was like
And the Zoot Suits riots that happened over here as well. And, yeah.
throw back a bottle of beer.
You know how we do
But it was a real thing. Yeah, it was a real
It wasn't
thing.
the Zoot Suit riot was a real
Which
thing in
almost
L.A.
feels like a deeply inappropriate thing to write a goofy swing song about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many goofy, inappropriate things have songs been written about, though?
So
A lot, yeah.
a big part of the Pachuco movement
Yeah.
was so they would wear these crazy zoot suits and shit, and
Yeah.
women would wear the suits too.
Ooh.
They were kind of like
Ooh.
flappers
Yeah.
in that they would like reject society's telling you can't wear pants sort of thing.
Yeah.
Latinos always got to put their own fucking crazy spin on something. where
goddamn
you look
know
like
what
a
it is,
haunted
dog.
Pimp or some shit.
Haunted pimp.
Yeah.
I got a chupacabra in my suit. Essay.
Yeah. Everything's always gotta have this
haunted pimp.
strange.
I'm picturing just a regular pimp, but then when he goes to bed, there's this ghost.
Yeah.
Nothing about him is altered except that he's haunted.
But anyway, let me.
El Cuco comes for you, essay.
I just thought that was hilarious. But let me tell you, this is my final note about the swing youth. You know what their motto was?
What was the swing?
Swing Heil.
Oh, yo! That was the name of a fucking emo band from Westchester.
Holy
Shut the
shit.
fuck up!
Yeah, Swing Heil.
That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, they were good.
Yo,
Anyway.
who knew that emo bands fuck with history though? That's my shit.
Real. Anyway, here's my point in all this.
Yeah.
I think it was one of these goddamn swing kids stole my bike.
You think a swing?
Oh.
But why would they steal your bike, Jake? You're not
Long
a Nazi.
tail on that kite.
I think there's some little orphan boy running around playing
Y'all
a
remember the
trombone on my
bike?
bike.
Jake, you're not a Nazi. I don't think they would have stolen your bike. I think it was a Nazi who stole your
I
bike.
know. It was probably not.
And they left a swastika calling card where your bike used to be.
It was probably just some shithead. So, and you know, honestly, it's probably somebody who wears black jorts, just like me. And that's where
And
this
me.
gets so confusing. I did an opening sketch making fun of how hardcore guys can completely fuck up their own rhetoric a lot of the times. But we need to talk about what, you know, there are any movement, there's going to be a bunch of hangers on that get everything completely fucking wrong, decide it's like cool to steal bikes or whatever like that. But there's an
Absolutely.
actual ideology to Antifa, and the Antifa in Germany was, you know, obviously a reaction to fascism.
Absolutely.
And they were largely socialists, right? So
So hold on.
Hitler-
So Antifa, their movement was largely socialists.
basically,
And
just,
but was not the Nazi Party also based on a socialist platform?
right. So a lot of times when you're arguing with people online and they're like, you know, Nazi, actually, people think that they fucking something they learned in 8th
Oh,
grade.
they were
is
just
gonna
like,
blow
it
your mind.
actually short for National Socialist.
It's
Yeah.
actually short for National Socialist, but that's just a semantic thing because they were fucking fascists and they hated actual socialists. They hated socialist socialists.
Right. That was
Yeah.
their ploy.
First, they came from the socialists. That's how the poem starts, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So their whole deal was the Nazis wanted to stamp out the socialists, the Labor Party that
So-
was in Germany at the time.
So their
right?
socialist label was just a label. It was not a true ideology for the Nazis.
Yeah, I mean, or just an extreme far right wing perversion of that ideology.
Yeah.
or something
Yeah,
In the
like that.
sense
yeah.
that like there was the concept of redistribution of wealth, but the redistribution of wealth was towards
Upwards, not downward.
military
Yeah.
routes,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Okay. It was a hawk-based socialism.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an extreme perversion of it. It was
Yeah.
nothing like what we're talking about today.
Correct.
So the labor movement was pretty much smashed by the Nazis, but there was a few of them left over who were. This is really complicated because Stalin was happening at the same time.
Yeah,
and
true.
They did sort of like work to help Stalin and the Red Army like come in and take over because the other option was Nazis.
Right.
Yeah.
But then within that movement, they were still like not down with Stalin's form of socialism.
Well,
which
right.
is-
It's just like, you know, my enemies will be killed even though it's my sister.
Yeah, because
Like-
they were anti-fascist, right?
Right.
But the problem is that post World War II, like, you know, fucking Germany split between capitalists and, you know, the Red Army and all this shit. And they've got no outlet. Like, they kind of died off in Germany because in order to survive, everyone just had to fucking be down with the Allies, capitalist
Yeah.
fucking shit that they were bringing in.
But
right?
as hardcore socialists, they were like, fuck that bullshit.
Or they could live inside of Stalin's Germany, but I mean, it was Stalin.
and this is Iron Curtain shit, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're dividing Germany, East, West Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of shit happened around that time, like they basically were just kind of stamped out in Germany, but in Italy there was just extreme like left wing and right wing fighting.
Yeah.
This is another metal ass term. There was this, I can't remember the exact years. I'll look it up, but there were there was a couple of summers where there was so much fighting between left wing and right wing that they called it the Years of Lead.
Ooh.
The Years of Lead.
That sounds like a fucking Steven Seagal movie.
Yes, it does.
It's not though.
Years of Lead.
Where he hooks up with a hot young Italian woman, 30 years his minor.
And she's also a robot.
I never thought I would fall in love with a robot, and yet here I am, karate chop.
Why did they make this robot out of lead? It doesn't seem like what you'd build a robot out of. And yet here we are.
At least I'm immune to kryptonite.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason I bring up the Years of Lead is because the way that the right sort of defeated the left in a lot of these situations, specifically the Years of Lead, was through an ideology that the alt-right right now is literally like they're probably reading these history books.
Well, they're reading for the first time, which is nice.
I mean, the freaks that are at the center of like the American KKK, like the David Dukes and stuff like that, are people that will read into shit like this and just are idiots, and they think that the good guys are the bad guys and the bad guys are good guys, right?
Right.
So one of their main tactics is the shit I was talking about earlier, where you reframe like the left as being the agitator.
Exactly, and that's exactly. I watched the Vice.
I watched it too, yeah.
Oh,
Right,
yeah, me too.
Right, and that's the only thing. First of all, if I see a dude in camouflage walk into a room, I'm leaving. That's my first flag of just like I'm not fucking with this guy. And it's just all these fucking white. Lame ass white dudes in camouflage with such a hard on for their guns, and all they want is for the left to attack them. It's like Rambo. They want them to draw first blood so they can unleash their fucking fury or whatever.
Yeah.
They're cowards,
and
dog.
they're doing it in a really specific way in America right now, because like, this whole thing right now has this very American like fucking flair to it, where it's all about free speech and shit like that. Because free speech is how we justify so much bullshit in this country, and it's hard to say that because like I'm a comic, dude. I like Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
I understand it, but we've had the free speech argument whittled down in this country so hard that what they're doing is, dog whistle shit, which is where you literally scream, I want to kill Jews, without actually saying the words. You just use all this like subtext and symbolism and shit like that.
Right.
Blood and soil.
Yeah.
Jews will not replace us.
Well, and it's the paradox of tolerance, right?
Yeah.
It's because to be tolerant is to accept everyone and to accept all voices. But what if one of the voices is anti-tolerant? Do you accept that? You can't. You can't accept anti-tolerance because it destroys tolerance.
Yeah, and
it's a paradox.
Some people in this country that are going to just never fucking get their heads over that, because they're just like, no, the whole point of this country, the whole point of this flag and all this shit is like, you can say whatever you want. I'll defend you to the death. Your right to say it. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, but the fucking First Amendment clearly says you can say whatever you want, but it's illegal to yell fire in a movie theater.
Do you know where that comes from, though?
I don't.
Not a good place.
Oh no.
Okay, so do you know who Eugene Debs is?
No.
Eugene Debs was the first he was the person who almost made it as a socialist presidential candidate back in the day, back during like populism and like the fucking turn of the century and shit.
Okay.
Eugene Debs is this worker who was sort of like radicalized after Jesus. I think he went to war or something. I can't remember. It's all in people's history. But
right.
He spoke out during World War I against the war, like because he was a socialist and he had very sort of nuanced understanding of the fact that the U.S.'s involvement in it wasn't what all the propaganda said. It wasn't, we got to go with the Kaiser. It was economic. It was just
a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that our involvement in the First World War was economy based.
Yeah, it was just imperialism and shit.
Correct.
So he was just speaking out against it, and they needed a reason to jail him, right? So they decided to come up with like the Sedition Act and all this shit, and just outlaw anything that was the language is it could potentially hurt the movement and then hurt people's lives or whatever, because the war is necessary, but it's bullshit. So the way that this lawyer justified jailing him was he came up with this fire in a movie theater situation,
shit.
Right? And he compared Eugene Debs like speaking out against the war as yelling fire in a movie theater. But it's bullshit. It's just back then you could get away with shit like that.
I'll say that it's bullshit, but it's like taking the sword from the bad guy and giving it to the good guy. Yelling out Black Lives Matter isn't going to cause damage and death. Yelling out "fuck Jews and blacks" will cause problems.
Yeah. So that's where we kind of hit this like weird zero line. Where
Yeah.
Okay, how do we explain this? And my sort of take on this is that this is exactly why we need Antifa, because like, yeah, you can't really justify macing somebody really within the laws of the U.S.
No, you can't.
But somebody still has to do it, otherwise we have Nazis. That's why a person in a fucking mask who's completely anonymous is exactly the person we need to do it. This is like the most case for vigilantism I've ever made in my life. Because usually like fucking superhero movies are actually very libertarian.
We need the bat.
We need the bat. Right. We need a man outside of our rules.
So I wanted to ask you some questions about Antifa, because it's my understanding, and this is the last kind of point I'm going to make, is that the Antifa we have now that people can kind of need to understand how they operate is that they're not socialists like they were back in the anti-fascistic days. Thank you, Horn, for fucking up that joke. So they're not.
No, he's just like a righteous.
He was like,
yeah,
I agree with Jake.
Antifa.
Gunshot.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, I'm going to choose to believe that's what happened. That somebody thought I was dropping knowledge or something. Anyway, so back in the day they were socialists. Today they operate more as anarchists.
Yeah.
Right.
And the whole point of anarchists being like, no organization. It's a thing, but it's not an organization.
Well,
and before you get started, I want to quickly just give you the proper introduction. Jeremy Hammond is our guest on the podcast this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Beloved friend, comic, and podcaster as well.
Yeah.
Jeremy, where can we find you online very quickly?
You can find me Twitter at Jeremy Thunder. You can find my podcast at Ballin' Out Super.
You're goddamn right.
I,
Carlos Delgado, have been on that podcast as well.
And so is Jake.
And so is Jake. That's awesome.
It is a deeply political podcast.
About Dragon Balls.
About Dragon Balls.
Jeremy. Yes, baby. Drop us some knowledge.
Yeah, so in terms of like to address the idea of it being organized or not organized, it's kind of like a bit of both, where you have historically of like local factions. So you'll have like New York City Antifa.
Yeah.
You'll have like New Jersey Antifa.
Right.
But when you talk about these things like response to the Unite the Right rally, you're not talking about some like national level Antifa who's saying like, okay, Antifa, here we go, guys.
There's a fucking a guy that comes on a computer screen, his head's just a silhouette.
Yeah.
He just talks. And, like,
just appears on a projector in the middle of the room.
Okay,
we need
Antifa.
you.
The
Antifa Rangers.
I'm the alpha of Antifa. I just want to throw that out there real quick.
It's just Carlos's head laughing like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
If you poke me, I giggle. So there's local chapters, local branches,
and those local chapters aren't necessarily. I mean, I told you a little bit about this before we got on mic, but I can't speak to the current Antifa situation beyond kind of these vagaries like this. But I can tell you that when I was involved deeply in Antifa, that
when was that?
This would be like 2006, 2007, 2008 time period.
So that was Bush era, no?
Yeah, Bush era coming into Obama.
Okay, cool.
And what you have is these local factions of Antifa that are themselves organizing responses to local things.
Okay.
When you talk about a Unite the Right rally, you're talking about a thing that's so big that, sure, the local factions are going to say, let's send people down, but there's no, like, it's not like a I'm trying to think of like a liberal equivalent of like a Move On. I know they don't exist anymore, but a MoveOn.org, where they have like volunteers and a mailing list where they're like putting together a faction of people to send in buses.
Antifa mailing list,
there's no Antifa mailing
There's no
list,
message board.
There's maybe a listserv that's deeply abused by all the members.
Somebody's got a MailChimp. But it's not spread out.
You were trying really hard to get us a sponsor.
Yeah, MailChimp, sponsor this podcast.
It's a MailChimp.
There's no Stamps.com involved in this situation.
Etc.
But so what I'm saying is like the most...
there's no Blue Apron.
There's no Antifa Blue Apron.
Listen, the only recipe I have is justice.
Yeah. Beans and rice, it's best for everybody.
Yes!
Okay?
Protein and carbs. So there was no...
It's the Anarchist cookbook.
Yeah.
Blue Apron Anarchist cookbook recipe.
It's like every month they send you a box with a bunch of different parts to make a pipe bomb, and you make it yourself in your own kitchen. It's
Single
great.
serve pipe bomb, you can kill one capitalist.
What am I gonna do with this extra cabbage though? Like they also send you cabbage with the fucking manure.
Oh goddamn!
What I was gonna say though is that I think the best the best thing you could compare it to right now is Anonymous, right? The way that Anonymous was during like the height of the media talking about Anonymous is to say that like you have your pundits on TV who are like, Anonymous did this thing, Anonymous did this thing.
Right.
We need to track down Anonymous and figure out who Anonymous is.
Untrackable.
It's untrackable, yeah, because somebody described it as like a loose gathering of whoever is awake at a given moment, right?
Yeah.
And Antifa at least like exists in the same time zone, so it doesn't really work that way. But like
modern
when you
American Antifa, you're saying exists.
yeah.
Okay.
I can't speak to Europe very much.
No. But I just.
Although I can tell you, I had friends who would go to Europe just to take part in what is known as riot tourism, which is when you know that there's going to be a big rally against some big right wing movement.
So you take a vacation.
You take a vacation. You take some time off of your job and you go to Greece and and you go hang with Antifa and the Black Bloc and you go fucking throw Molotovs at cops because it's a lot easier to do in Greece than it is here.
Okay, well that seems a little voyeuristic.
It seems a little bougie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no.
It's like glamping but politically active.
Listen, there is a lot.
There's a lot going on.
Really? Wow.
There is a lot of that.
So
Really?
that's something that really bothers me about Antifa, and like they're kind of like the heroes of this week's news or whatever to some extent. But there is like,
Or
I
the
hesitate
villains.
to say this because I don't want to echo the fucking shitty idiot fucking President Botafuco Andrew Jackson bullshit where he's like, we gotta look at both sides. There's criticism you can make of Antifa.
No,
but
that's bullshit.
there are like really microscopic like cultural criticisms, and like one of the things that I always notice is I used to go to Black Lives Matter stuff a lot.
Yeah.
And whenever I would go to Black Lives Matter, it's about black people, and there would always be these fucking young punk rocker Antifa guys that are like the loudest screamers, and it's like, this isn't about you. You're supposed to be a body. You're supposed to just hang out.
You're supposed to take the mace for the black people that are actually fucking
Yeah.
mobilizing for their cause.
Yeah.
So two things I'd like to point out. One is that there is a distinction to be made. Not a huge distinction, but there is a distinction to be made between Antifa and Black Bloc.
Right.
These are two different. I mean, Antifa's more of an organization. Black Bloc's more of a technique, and there is some overlap. There are Antifa Black Blocs, but
What is Black Bloc? I'm sorry.
Black Bloc is when you're at a protest, and I'm sure you've seen this before, where you go to a protest and there is a group of people, primarily white, who are dressed all in black.
I've seen them. Yep.
Black face masks on, wearing uniform black clothes, or a lot of times, band T-shirts and stuff, because
Oh, you're into Rancid. Cool.
yeah. Well, it's a weird thing because it's like, the idea of the Black Bloc is that you wear plain black. You wear nothing but plain black, and everybody wears the same exact thing.
Everyone's anonymous. That way, if one of you punches Richard Spencer,
then you can
figure
fall
out who it
back
was.
into the crowd. The rest of
and-
the crowd can be around you,
And
and then
nobody
it's
can
impossible to
find
identify.
you.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
Got it.
so when it works its best, the only way that the police have to identify you is traditionally the shoes. That's what they look for, is your shoes.
Shit.
Because it's the most identifiable thing on you.
Well,
but a
everybody's
lot
got
of
to wear black
times-
chucks then.
Well, I mean, you got to ask everyone to buy black chucks. Whereas, like, black
Right.
jeans look like black jeans no matter what brand you're wearing. Whereas, like, shoes are a lot harder, is the point. And
Black Bloc should put trash bags over all their shoes.
ooh,
Like in a hospital.
Yeah.
you should be going to more meetings.
Hey,
Are you going to become the new leader of Black Bloc, Jake?
That's a good idea.
I'm gonna become the leader of Black Bloc.
You're the blackest block.
Yeah. I'm
because the Black Bloc has leader.
I'm the Black Blockhead.
You're the blockhead.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
the
Dave Chappelle's Black Bloc party.
Oh,
All right, I think we're done.
Jesus.
I think we're done with this riff.
Thank you.
So what I was gonna say is that, like, in these cases like Black Lives Matter things, Antifa may or may not. I don't know specifically what you saw or where you were.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of times, what you may be mistaking for an Antifa block is actually just a Black Bloc, which
Right.
is a gathering of anarchists from all different
Organizations, sects,
organizations
or
and sects,
philosophies.
And I forgot what the other thing I was going to say
But
is.
but
Sorry.
that's a common strategy of the media and the right to just label something.
Yeah.
Right. To be like, oh, the Black Bloc, they don't know what that is, but they're going to call them the buzzword of the week, which is Antifa. No.
I mean, the thing is, the the media and the class of people that are in the fucking media are so far away from this shit that they don't really know what to call this, which they usually just call them counter-protesters.
Right.
Now they kind of know what Antifa is. They're going to start calling the alt-left, which is bad.
And that's the new term that came out, and you called it.
I fucking called it.
You called it a week.
So mad.
Can we talk about alt-left for a second?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I have a different opinion about alt-left than I think a lot of people do.
Okay, what's that?
Which is to say that I don't necessarily hate it.
The term alt-left.
I
Why?
hate that it was coined by Donald Trump in the mainstream. I don't care for that. I do like the idea, at least, that I think, okay, here's what I'm going to say, is I think it is beneficial for both the radical left and the centrist left. Which is to say that I think that the radical left appreciates the idea that, like, we're not being looped in with these moderate dickheads
Right.
anymore.
Yes.
Can't anymore.
And
Exactly.
then the centrist left is going to absolutely adore it when this all ramps up even
Escalates.
higher and higher,
And
it
then, like,
gets
that's
really
them.
crazy
That's
in a couple
not
of
us.
months. And they can say, yeah, that's not us. Vote for us. We're the regular left.
We're Democrats.
Yeah.
And that's the alt-left.
So in some ways, I think it is
that's why I think it's
actually
bad,
beneficial.
though.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, I think that part's bad. I like the idea of being able to say, like, I don't think I'll ever call myself alt-left, but I think
Who would?
I think I at least appreciate the idea that there is going to be some distinction between them, because in the past, when anarchists go to a rally and do incite some sort of, conflict with police, some sort of property damage, some sort of things like that, it does feel a lot of times like it gets washed into this general idea of the left.
Of left. Yes, I was just going to say that.
Okay, here's the thing about that, though. Like, there's kind of this paradox with thinking about this sort of shit where, like, and the only people that are going to understand the distinctions between all this stuff are the people that are so far in our direction that they understand what we're talking about and are right about everything. But when you look at, like, you talk to, like, a fucking alt-right person, they literally, like, they think this is all liberal. Like, all of this shit is liberalism.
Well, exactly.
And, like, they'll call people commies as if that's kind of... They have a Cold War shit in their head.
Yeah, well, they sure got that talking point
They
out
watched
right away.
Red Dawn every morning as a child before they went to school. They were like, don't let them win.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know where that shit comes from, man, because I grew up in Texas, and, like, I had to kind of deprogram myself in order to get where I am, just because, like, they get that shit in your head so quick. Like, I remember in school... We watched this movie called The Wave, and it was like a metaphor for socialism, and it was like this, this group, this fucking political group comes to this school and slowly turns student by student. It was like a Degrassi situation. Oh my God, Wheelchair Jimmy's joined the wave, And by the end of it, it's like this grim thing where, like, the wave took over the whole school. It doesn't explain that the wave is trying to give you free healthcare.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Or what about...
it's bad. It destroys individuality and shit like that.
What about when you give a mouse a cookie?
What is it?
That was a children's book that was very popular.
I never thought about the political implications.
Maybe
of
at least in the Northeast. I don't know if it was everywhere.
I've
It
heard
was
of
pretty popular, but I think it won a Pulitzer.
I went to Newark Public Schools. We didn't have the mouse with a cookie.
Yeah.
They just played them Bruce Springsteen all day.
That's all we had. It's just like, we're the boss. I play guitar and I have a blue collar.
When You Give a Mouse a Cookie is a book that the central idea of it is it's a mouse. And it's like, I want a cookie. And this kid's like, yeah, sure, I'll give you a cookie. Why not? And then it's like, if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll want a glass of milk. And it's like, okay, well, here's a glass of milk. It's like, well, if you give a mouse a glass of milk, he's going to want some fucking something else. I don't know. I don't remember what the next
Why
thing
do
was.
these people hate mice eating so much?
Right. But the point is, it's all a metaphor for the slippery slope of the welfare state.
Right.
God
No, it
damn
totally
it.
is. I never thought about that, but that's fucking for sure. That's probably not. That's probably deliberate.
Well, and that's what fascinates me about at least our country, and I will say our country because we're all here and we're all American and we all fucking live our lives here.
Not me. I'm the president of the Black Bloc.
That's you're the blockhead. I'm gonna open up a bed and breakfast in Ecuador for American expats in the next 10 years. It's gonna happen. But no, that I feel like that's the thing. Like, America has the idea of just like the American dream. You can come here or be born here and have this great success. But if you don't achieve that, you're fucked 5 ways to Sunday because there's no safety net here. Like, we want to give these opportunities for these captains of industry, but if you're just an average person who's just trying to get by, we're trying to fucking criminalize you and fucking shut you down and make sure you die, essentially.
Yeah, so everybody, like, I feel like people in America and like Democrats in America don't realize how much they still buy into that shit.
Yeah.
Like, the right and the left, the distinction should be there. The distinction should be pro-capitalism and anti-capitalism. But like people on the left sort of just cowardly, like, you know, back into this weird corner of politics where they're like, well, I hate racism, and I remember all this shit from the George W. Bush era where I know that the bootstraps metaphor is bad.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to do all this research and figure out why that's like complete bullshit. And like the whole the bootstraps metaphor is like it's an argument against the idea that we shouldn't have capitalism. Like we shouldn't be enslaved in this system at all.
Well,
and the free speech argument that's being perpetuated by the right now
yeah.
is so, like, I hate to give them credit, but I have to give them credit, which is to say that it is very well devised. I think it's a smart move for them to pin this into a free speech debate, because what they're doing is they're giving liberals the easy out. Right? They're saying, like, political violence is political violence is political violence. It's the same thing no matter what you're raging against. Nazis have just as much right to say their Nazi bullshit as anybody else does. But
that's again, that's the hypocrisy of tolerance. If you are a group espousing tolerance and you're saying all of us should be accepted, all of us should be heard,
right?
But if there's a group that rises up that is anti-tolerant, that says I hate Jews, I hate blacks, these people should die, but you should hear my voice, that will destroy tolerance.
Yeah, and what's an easier argument to make even is to say that giving free speech to Nazis is creating the slippery slope that you all fear from the welfare state and from all this sort of stuff.
Shit!
When you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk.
If you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a white ethno state.
Yeah!
Yes!
Yeah, man. When you
a glass of milk for his face that got maced.
When you let Nazis be legitimized in the public square, you create a situation where it's okay to say Jews will not replace us, and then the next thing is to say Jews should be gone. You know, and that's, I mean, the violence is not created equal, is what I mean to say. Like, this is self-defense that Antifa is doing.
Correct.
This is defense against what is very clearly their goal, and they'll happily tell you that's their goal.
And look, here's
they know you can't do anything about it without sort of this whole free speech
and the
up.
difference I would say is Antifa is looking to do property damage. Nazis and like that far extreme alt-right is looking to hurt people. That's why.
Did I talk about this on This Take, the destruction of property thing?
Yes, you did.
Okay, just make sure.
Yeah, but also like the difference is like, okay, Black Bloc will throw a brick through Starbucks. Alt-right will drive a car through a crowd of protesters. And I think that's the fucking difference that we have to acknowledge here.
Yeah.
Right, and they're going to try to frame it like
it was self-defense.
That's why I think it's so important to understand the specific like goals and tools of Antifa and Black Bloc, because if you understand how they operate, then you don't get led into this fucking trap of like, oh, they were counter-protesting and then things got out of control. No, the out-of-control part was specifically what they went there to do, and to do it in a very specific way.
It's controlled chaos.
It's never going to turn into a thing where they kill somebody. The point is to mace a Nazi, not kill him, and then fucking, destroy a window.
You see Trump going on TV just the other day saying, like, these guys, they showed up with, like, shields and weapons and things, and, they weren't permitted to be there. First of all, they 100% were permitted to be there. That permit is available. You can find it. It's 100% legal what they were doing.
Right.
But the alt-right showed up with
guns,
shields and weapons
and
too,
guns.
Yeah.
Like fucking with M16s proudly wrapped around them because they just bought them from Walmart.
Yeah.
Like just like fresh to go guns.
They were there prepared to fight. Everybody was there prepared to fight. And I guess this is where we differ, where I might be a little further left than you guys are.
You probably are. I will venture to say, for me specifically, you are farther left than I am.
I'm curious because I fucking find myself being farther to the left than most 99% of people I interact with on a daily basis, but fucking out left me, dude.
This is maybe a controversial thing to say.
Well, hit it, baby.
I think if they'd driven a car into the Nazi rally, I wouldn't have been completely pissed.
I wouldn't have shed a tear, man. I wouldn't have given a shit. But the only thing that would have bummed me out about that is that it would have given the alt-right a moment to then incite a fucking martyrdom.
I'm very happy that didn't happen, that they didn't get the first blood that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't think that violence against Nazis is a bad thing.
Okay. I accept and acknowledge that statement 100%. What I will say in terms of an example is, look, man, I don't want it to come to violence. I know that our country and a lot of movements are based in blood. I get that shit. But when Richard Spencer got punched in the fucking face, a week later there was a video of an elder Asian woman getting savagely fucking beat and knocked over by some fucking right-wing chick.
Yeah.
And that woman had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
It just inspires violence on innocent bystanders. And man, if the violence comes down to two groups who show up to do violence, fucking go for it. You're prepared. You acknowledge what you're doing.
Yeah.
But if that kind of stuff inspires violence against innocent bystanders who happen to be people of color, it's going to happen. And it does happen. And I think that's bullshit.
So the concept of like this stuff not outwardly being bad speech, but like, or illegal speech, but inspiring other shit is really complicated. But I think like we as a fucking society, we all get it. Like we need to acknowledge it.
Do we get it though?
I think so. I wrote a thing on Facebook about this because I was
I read it.
The point I kind of got to was I was like, how do I justify this free speech thing in my head as a comic and somebody who loves Lenny Bruce and shit like that, and Bill Hicks and Carl and all of that, whatever.
Right? And we're all comics here, so you know.
And the thing that occurred to me was that I was at this fucking this like LGBT trans fucking comedy like showcase and then Q&A thing a while back.
Yeah.
And this guy came out. I think his name is Mehran Tarani.
Oh yeah, Mehran Tarani. Yeah.
He's really funny, and his whole fucking thing is he'd call the audience hookers.
Yes.
He'd come out and he'd go like, "What's up, hookers?" And like, it was really funny.
It's
it was just
funny.
this weird
It's
ball busting thing where he'd be like, "This hooker gets it," you know? Like, I don't know why I'm doing Cholo. He's a whatever.
This like he's a Iranian gay comic, very funny.
So then they did a Q&A, and I asked him about it, and they go, you know, so you did some jokes that were kind of like about, you know, maybe throwing sex workers under the bus, like, but you're gay, like, are you allowed to say that? Do you care when other people say that? Do we have rules where, like, some comedians are allowed to make jokes like that and some aren't? And the point he brought up was that he's like, there's no reason to kind of police. I don't want to. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what he said.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's just kind of dismissed the whole thing and went, listen, when comics listen to other comics talk, we know what's going on because it's not what you're saying, it's who you're being. Like, we get... Comics love free speech, but they also get subtext. The whole art of the joke is fucking subtext.
Correct. It's not what you say, it's what you're not... Right.
Like, what you actually mean. And so, like, we're intellectually at a level, I think, where we all can watch a fucking comedy special and know, like... Well, maybe we're not. That might be the fucking problem. Like, we should all know when Dave Chappelle's actually fucking saying something fucked up and when he's saying something fucked up as a joke. And I think he fucks up a lot. I think sometimes he says shitty things.
But that's the art of comedy. It's failure and success.
Yeah. But like we all get the subtext. Like, it's just that you can't legislate subtext. So that's why that's why the alt-right is able to move in like shadows like this, where all the subtext is racist and all, like, you know, but they're actually not saying anything racist or whatever, you know, or doing anything insightful, but the subtext is insightful. But like, come on, guys, there's Nazis marching on a city. Like, we know what's going on here, right?
That's like that senator who says, like, I can't describe pornography to you, but when I see it, I know what it is.
Didn't John McCain say that when he was... No, sorry. John McCain said something else. After brain surgery, he made some weird child pornography comment.
He said, I love to jerk off to child pornography. But I'll say the same thing about Nazis. I'll be like, I can't describe alt-right Nazi to you, but I know when I see one.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'll fucking say.
John McCain, he was like... Somebody asked him something. This is right before his weird fucking Han Solo cowboy healthcare move. He goes...
He was wearing a vest, I swear to God he was.
Scar on his head from where they messed with his brain. Someone's interviewing him, and he goes, well, you know, it's like child pornography. You know it when you see it. And then he just is silent for a second. You can kind of see him just go, oh, what the fuck did I just say?
And he was just like, sorry, my Manchurian Candidate program errored out. I'm back.
Yeah. So
Kill JFK.
Weird.
Kill JFK.
Okay, the thing I kind of want to end on, unless you got anything else really to throw in here.
Bring us home.
All right,
Let's do it,
so
baby. Let's do it.
studying the history of all this Antifa movement, I read this book. I'll put it in the notes. I don't have it on me right now, but or I read a bunch of shit from this book, and there's sort of like these different Antifa factions that happened in different countries in Europe while fascism was trying to spread, right? So there were like Italy and Germany, where it sort of fell because what happened at the time is eerily similar to what's happening right now, where the left was split into like a liberal faction and a socialist faction.
Correct. Right.
So in the countries where they remained split, the Nazis won, and in the countries where they sort of banded together, like Britain,
Nazism was forced out.
they fascism didn't rise. So
Right.
I really hate this rhetoric because I fucking hate the just really reductive argument of like, hey, shut up, socialists. We all just need to work together. So we have to elect Kamala Harris. We'll figure this stuff out later. Like, but history is kind of implying that like in order to sort of beat this movement and Trumpism and all this shit, it might be necessary that we unite the left. I hate to even use that terminology, man.
But that's the thing but that's the thing, man. That's
the problem being that the like centrist, like Democratic Party, fucking capitalist left is holding leftism and just the left side of politics hostage, like against us. So
absolutely,
fucking hard.
and again, specifically here in America, we have a two-party system, Democrat, Republican, but both of them are based on capitalism. That's the issue. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We have a two-party system that's based on capitalism, and everybody benefits from the stock market. Everybody benefits from tragedy happening and getting fucking your pockets full.
Well, and specifically like this really, really new like neoliberalism.
Yeah,
like,
right.
The shit that we want as like fucking socialists and DSA people and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Used to be in the Democratic agenda
the playbook originally, correct?
until like Clinton.
Right.
The only way Clinton really won was by going like, I'm going to do things a third way. This is going to be new Democrat.
Right.
Somebody brought this up the other day. Justin Spector brought this up. He's the alt-left. He was the person who came and went like, how about a new type of Democratic Party that's really pro-business and shit like that, right?
Right.
Tough on crime and all this stuff.
It's like, we'll give welfare to minorities, but also we're going to start jailing a ton of them.
Yeah.
Like, I get it, man.
So, like, this stuff used to not be radical. It used to be in the party. It didn't happen because, like, Carter was a fucking maniac and, they all still sucked, but we used to be further to the left or whatever. So, like, I think since it's, 3.5 years or whatever until the next fucking election, the idea needs to be that we need to fucking do the work and win and pull the Democratic Party our way
back together. We got to pull them farther left.
We got to primary people and fucking we take over the party and
Yes.
then they have to compromise to us.
Correct. And so it's all about staying active, staying aware, and fucking local elections. New York has an election coming up very soon that a lot of people don't know about. Yeah, aldermen, councilmen, fucking judges, district attorneys. We have to be aware. We have to actually do the work.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I've got. I might talk more about some of this Antifa stuff on the next one, but
it's gonna spill over, man.
We're
This
about
shit's
an
not
hour.
going away anytime
there's
soon.
just a fucking lot going on here.
Yeah, man.
To close this out, I think an interesting thing to think about might be, like, you guys both know about what happened in Barcelona today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do know.
I don't know when this is coming out, but this is
fatal car wreck happened.
A van drove.
That's
a van drove through
Through
some people, which is
It's a terrorist attack.
yeah,
right?
it's a terrorist
attack.
I was jokingly calling it a fatal wreck because the fucking CBS News
Yeah.
called the Charlottesville thing a fatal wreck.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, they can suck a dick.
But so I think it's going to be very interesting to see, because when what happened in Charlottesville happened, everybody recognized it right away as a tactic that we've seen a million times before in Europe. We've seen ISIS, we've seen terrorist groups drive cars through crowds of people to kill.
They replaced bomb vests with a fucking van.
Yeah, which in many ways is a much more practical way to go about this. But what I'm interested to see is, now that Charlottesville has happened, and we have Trump on record saying, look, this is bad, but there's violence on both sides.
Right.
I'm interested to see now, not 2 days later from him saying that, what his response to the Barcelona attack will be.
Oh, there won't be. There won't be a response. Why is he going to talk about that?
That's what I'm wondering, because his base so wants him to respond to every single Islamic terror attack. They want him to come out and
Barcelona, is that the name of one of my daughters?
My daughter Barcelona Trump, very beautiful.
Very beautiful.
A tremendous ass.
I love how he calls everything beautiful.
It's beautifully. It's tremendously beautifully. And by the way, I just want to say, I had a AP English teacher in high school who told me very clearly, she was just like, anyone who converts something into an adverb, adding adding ly to the end is ignorant, and you should not pay attention to them.
Ooh.
If you say
Sounds like a bit of a grammar alt-right to me.
you got
That's the button.
that's the button.
Yeah, shit. I totally forgot there was one other thing I wanted to get through, but maybe I'll put it on the next one.
Now, what's the thing?
Okay.
Well, we're here.
We're
Two
here.
things real quick.
Sure.
First thing was Heather Hayer, the person that died at the thing.
Heather Hayer. Shout out to Heather
They're
Hayer.
not going to talk about this. She was a wobbly. International Workers of the
Oh,
World.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
She was a fucking socialist. She was the Wobblies are the people that wrote that song, that Pie in the Sky song that I played the last podcast episode, shit from 100 years ago. Conveniently, any like liberal you talk to is going to go like, well, let's not politicize her death, yada yada yada. If that person was a Black Lives Matter activist, would you not politicize their death?
You absolutely would.
They died for a fucking reason.
Correct.
Like, don't take that out from under them. I think it's really lame. If you look at her on Facebook, her fucking cover photo is Bernie 2016. Like, there's no
doubt.
There's going to be erasure of this person, and it sucks.
Do you think it's because she was white that they're removing her political alliance and just saying this angel died and not attributing it to being like, hey, like this fucking radical person died?
No, I think it's because she's a leftist. Because
right.
They just don't want to address that person could be a martyr in that fucking sense or whatever, or that they died for any reason.
And they are. She absolutely was a martyr. She absolutely was. She was marching. She was protesting. She was putting it out there.
If you die as a political activist at a political event, how the fuck are we going to say, like, let's not politicize this?
Yeah.
Let's not pay attention to what they were there for? The problem is they don't understand that economic justice is like racial justice and
correct.
all these other different
Absolutely.
And they want so badly, the mainstream left wants so badly to create this narrative that hardcore leftism died with Bernie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Once Bernie Sanders' candidacy ended, this all just evaporated, and all the college kids went back to smoking their bongs and playing Wonderwall and trying to fuck. Like that's what they want the reality to be, but they don't realize that this is still there and this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people I know that support that aren't like specifically like fucking big rich parts of the actual machine.
Yeah.
They believe it because one of the ways that the machine stays the machine is class blindness. Like we don't have the concept of class in America.
Yeah.
On purpose, like in order to like
Yeah.
shut down all this thought, because otherwise then people would actually wake up, band together, and fucking overthrow this shit.
Well, there's the classic. I can't remember who it is. Is it Steinbeck or is it Orwell who said that the reason socialism never took up in the United States was because in Europe, working class people see themselves as working class.
Yeah.
And here, working class people see themselves as temporarily embarrassed.
Oh my
exactly.
God!
I can't remember who said it, but that's
Dude.
yeah.
That's brilliant. That is
Great quote.
that's an amazing
Future-
quote.
I can say I said it.
No, I know, but
millionaires,
Jeremy, that was a great quote.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God,
guys.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Other thing, I'm gonna end on this. We're at like an hour. We're gonna wrap up, but I wanted to talk real quick about something that didn't get brought up in this whole thing. I think because week's been crazy, but you ever wonder where those statues come from?
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked into this shit,
Yeah,
dude.
okay.
Holy shit. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the actual statue they were protesting, because like people like keep bringing up this argument of like, well, it's just about history. Are we
It's
gonna
not
erase
racism,
history?
it's heritage.
Yeah, like, are we going to erase all the figures and the whole story of history? Let me tell you where the actual statue they were protesting came from.
Where'd it come from, Jake?
It came from this guy whose name is Paul
Racist
Goodloe McIntyre, right?
Okay, Paul Ludlow McIntyre.
Paul Goodloe McIntyre was a guy who lived in Charlottesville. He went to college for a year, dropped out, decided to go play the stock market, right?
Okay.
Moved to New York, made a shit ton of money, hit it real big on a stock market slot machine.
He bet on zip ties.
Yeah, and he came back to Charlottesville. This is all like in the 20s, right? This is like 60 years after the fucking Civil War, right?
Yeah. 1820s. 1920s.
1920s.
1920s. Okay, I'm dumb. Sorry.
Mid 1800s, the Civil War.
Got it.
So he comes back and he's got all this money, and he decides to just become like his Wikipedia says he's a philanthropist. He's a very he's a capitalist with the PR team, right?
Got it.
So he starts buying all this shit for like schools and stuff like that, and just
Yeah.
trying to like build a community like as one man with all this money in the way he wants to make it, right? And so like
it's his town.
his father was mayor of Charlottesville during the Civil War when they had to surrender Charlottesville to the Union.
Whoa.
It's embarrassing for him, right?
Right.
So as a way of like sort of giving a gift to his father, he goes, "Oh, we're going to create a statue of Robert E. Lee your hero, right? This is all about this man's personal bullshit and his family, right? It's because they have this like resentment thing, which is also like the embarrassment of the South is really similar to the embarrassment of the Nazis post World War I. That's how you pathologize. And
Yeah, for sure.
So a lot of people say like, well, you know, he was a philanthropist and he made all these great things, you know, like he made this statue for his dad and he made all these different parks. He did fund a bunch of parks. You know what he funded?
What did he fund?
A whites-only park.
Ah!
And a park that was it was for black people. He referred to it as a playground for the colored people.
Shut the fuck!
Yeah. So
what heritage are you fighting for, cocksuckers?
Yeah.
Is that the heritage you're fighting for? I bet you won't fucking research that bullshit.
Fuck that fucking statue.
Fuck that statue.
Fuck that statue.
Fuck it sideways, man.
Also, just saying, the plan wasn't to take the statue down and then throw it out.
It was to move it to
They were going to move it to a museum.
It belongs in a museum. It was Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones.
People treat it like the plan was take down the statue, smash it with bats, piss on it a few times, and then throw it in the garbage.
Well, that's what happened, and
that's what should have happened.
That's what should have happened to it, but
yeah.
Now we have the truth behind the statue. Listeners, take that home and digest it.
All right, sorry. I meant to say that at the top to sort of frame everything, but I just wanted to squeeze that in there at the end.
And
anyway,
we got it in, man.
I'm like, my head's full of this shit now, and so we're going to do more about it next week. But that's Pod Damn America for the week. Thank you for listening. I'm Jake Flores, at Feral Jokes on all the shit online.
I'm Carlos Delgado, at Ceviche Papi across the board, all social media.
Our guest is
Jeremy Hammond.
At Jeremy Thunder on everything.
Yeah.
You guys got anything to plug? Carlos got a new album.
I got a new album out called Featuring for Myself. It's available on Spotify, iTunes, Audible, all the things. Please check it out. I appreciate you, and I love you all.
Oh, yeah. I got a split 7-inch coming out with Kevin Titt. He's a comedian from DC.
Kevin Titt. I know him.
He's the best.
I love him.
Great dude.
Yeah.
It's going to be real fun. I'm really excited for it, and that's all I'm plugging.
All right. Find the swing kids that stole my bike.
Find them!
Find him. That's his plug.
That's my plug. All right, good night.
Never bother to ask any questions. Now I know my rights, get out of my way. I won't fall for the lies that you say. You want me to kneel down, you want me to pray. Now you're laughing cause it's me that will pay. Hey Justin! Hey Justin! Hey Justin! Hey Justin! Stupid and happy are set in their ways, content as their lives grow sick and decay. The readers all stand there digesting the system. You don't have to be choking to become a victim. Yeah! Hey Justin! Hey Justin! Hey Justin! Hey Justin!